Prepare yourself. The universe is activating a rare transitional gateway, and passing through it without feeling its pull will be nearly impossible. Sometimes, space doesn't call out loudly. It simply begins to resonate differently. And those who know how to listen, not with their ears, but with their bodies, suddenly sense it. The air feels denser. The silence deepens. Ordinary dates start to hum like tuning forks. That's exactly how June 6th is resonating now. It's as if the world is holding its breath, giving you just enough pause to realign. June 6th isn't just an aesthetically pleasing number. It carries a frequency rooted in divine order. In numerology, 6 is the number of balance, beauty, maturity, and abundance. But when it appears doubled, it becomes more than just a meaning. It becomes a portal. The symmetry of 6 acts like a mirror. It amplifies everything you hold within. Love becomes clearer, doubts more visible, desire sharper. Everything is revealed. But this year, the resonance deepens. In 2025, June 6th marks Venus returning home. The planet of love, values, and embodied truth enters the sign of Taurus. And it does so, not on just any day, but on Friday, the day of Venus. Coincidence? Number. This is a code. A triple alignment, number, planet, weekday, activates more than just the energy of beauty. It switches on a frequency filter. Desires rooted in fear won't pass through. Only those aligned with inner maturity, self-worth, and the true essence of "I choose myself" will resonate. So, if you felt a subtle tension these days, a strange restlessness, a sense that something invisible is drawing near, you're not imagining it. This isn't anxiety, it's attunement. But why do dates like this seem to split destinies into a before and after? Why do some make quantum leaps while others stay stuck in old loops? Why do unexpected doors swing open for some while others receive silence or rejection? We'll go deeper into that next. The number 6 is not just a symbol of love. It is love in its mature form. It's not an emotional spark. It's a choice. A decision to stay in harmony even when it requires effort. It's not just about comfort. It's about a space crafted consciously. It's not compromise. It's a state where the material and the spiritual no longer fight each other, but support each other. In numerology, 6 is associated with balance, beauty, care, stability, and sensuality. But when you look deeper, 6 is also a point of inner truth. Not the truth you speak aloud, but the one your reality is actually built on. And when the 6 appears twice, as in 6/6, it stops being background energy. It becomes a portal. At times like this, space doesn't ask questions. It listens. It listens for where you really are. Not through your words, not through your wishes, but through what you agree to. Where you lower your standards, where you hide behind logic, where you say, "This is fine," even when something inside you tightens in resistance. 6/6 is like a mirror, one that doesn't distort, but neither does it soften. It simply reflects. And the harder you try to cling to the old, the clearer the message becomes. You're no longer there. Many associate the number 6 with the idea of home. And yes, it rules closeness, care, the body, and emotional safety. But this isn't about there's enough for everyone. It's about, have you truly chosen enough for yourself? 6 doesn't comfort. It's a grown-up energy. It doesn't persuade. It invites. It says, if you want something real, pay the price. In attention, in honesty, in the willingness to hold what you asked for. That's why on June 6th, it's not just a vibration that's activated, it's a vibrational filter. And it doesn't operate on a scale of worthy versus unworthy. It speaks in a different language. If you're ready, you receive. If you're hiding, you watch others receive. Nothing personal, just precision. The energy of the 6 doesn't push. It doesn't provoke crisis, but it sharpens perception. You begin to feel more acutely where you're living in your truth and where you're still moving through the remnants of the past. Sometimes this shows up in subtle ways. You used to feel joy meeting someone. Now you don't even want to speak. Your job once felt stable. Now it feels like you're gasping for air. What used to be enough now somehow feels lacking, even if nothing has changed. This isn't moodiness. It's not fatigue. It's a shift. A deep inner maturation beginning to raise your internal standard. And 6-6 is the kind of moment where everything becomes audible. What you carry within, that's what reflects back. If you choose something worthy, but with hesitation, the mirror reflects the hesitation. If you choose something small, but with confidence, it responds with something small. But if you finally allow yourself to ask for more, without expectation, without fear, that becomes the activated code. On days like these, the world feels more attuned to nuance. And the one thing the energy of the 6 listens for above all is this: your honesty with yourself. Because 6 doesn't promise to grant your wishes. It simply amplifies what already is. And in that lies the quietest, yet most powerful test. Because if your inner signal is, I am ready, 6 activates possibilities. But if the signal is, I'm still waiting for someone else to give me permission, the space goes silent. That's why precision is everything right now. Not perfection, not persuasion, authenticity. Because June 6th is a date when the mirror stops distorting. And what reflects back is not what you wish for, but who you've chosen to become. June 6th, 2025. A day when 3 energetic vectors converge at a single point. Venus enters Taurus, her home sign, and it happens on a Friday, the very day Venus rules. All of this gathers into one current, one vibration, impossible to ignore. This is not just a fortunate astrological coincidence. It is a triple activation of a code capable of manifesting what has long been maturing inside you, waiting for form. Taurus is not merely the sign of stability and materiality. It is the place where the energies of beauty and worth become tangible. Here, desires no longer exist apart from action. The inner knowing of I am worthy crystallizes into structure, into space, into a felt experience in the body. And it is here that Venus begins to resonate louder than ever, not through words, not through emotions, but through the body, through taste, through direct contact with reality. There is nothing illusory about this transit. It is about the concrete, about the form that anchors your inner state. When Venus returns to Taurus, everything you could once ignore becomes obvious. Everything you tolerated, everything you turned a blind eye to, every time you said yes to, almost, it all begins to lose its flavor. Taurus energy doesn't tolerate falsehoods. It doesn't destroy. But it gently, steadily removes what no longer resonates. And this is where the power of the moment lives. What is not infused with your true value begins to dissolve on its own. Friday, the day of Venus, adds an emotional frequency to this activation. Everything related to relationships, feelings, personal boundaries, physical comfort, and money becomes heightened. But not in a dramatic way, in a clarifying one. You begin to feel the difference between the real and the performed, between abundance and its imitation, between what nourishes you and what merely survives off your energy's leftovers. This is not a day for making decisions. It's a day when the space around you starts making them, reading your internal state without needing words. This triple resonance activates a field where pretense cannot survive. There is no such thing as being a little bit ready or kind of wanting change. Anything that doesn't reflect full alignment with your authentic self will fall away effortlessly, not as punishment, but as a natural process of purification. You may not even realize what's gone at first. You'll simply notice that you no longer feel drawn to places that once felt safe, that you no longer want to reply to messages you used to answer out of politeness, that certain people, objects, and events you've grown used to now feel foreign. This isn't rejection, it's a reset. The space around you is tuning itself to your frequency and clearing out anything that disrupts the sound. This day isn't about wishes, it's about maturity. Maturity not in giving up beauty, but in no longer accepting its imitation. Taurus is a sign that demands form. And if your inner worth isn't met with outer reflection, it will simply no longer support the connection. You can try to hold on to the familiar, but Venus in Taurus will guide you out of it, gently yet insistently. No breakdowns, no drama, just a full energetic clarity. This no longer works. And on days like these, what truly matches your new state begins to emerge. Not what you want to keep, but what naturally responds to your evolution. That's why this portal isn't external. It's not about rushing to do something on a specific date. It's a field that activates from within, based on your inner signal. And if that signal is clear, if it's pure, you'll simply witness how reality begins to reshape around you, effortlessly, without struggle, without loud declarations. This is the essence of triple resonance. It requires no proof. It simply amplifies your frequency to the point where everything misaligned begins to fall away. Not because it became worse, but because you became more precise. The June 6th portal is not an event pinned to a calendar. It is not a flash of light, a magical ritual, or a reward for good behavior. It is a state of being, one you enter not because you've done everything right, but because something real has ripened within you. It doesn't choose based on merit. It doesn't punish. It doesn't test you in the usual sense. It simply responds. And its response is always precise. If you're still clinging to the old, not because it holds value, but because you fear having nothing, the space around you will answer with silence. It won't argue. It won't push. It will just pause. Everything that once seemed to move will halt. Where you waited for a sign, there will be stillness. Where you longed for clarity, a fog will settle. But this isn't punishment. It's an indication that your internal calibration isn't yet aligned with the next level. Because the true energy of this portal does not support compromise. Clinging to relationships where the feeling has long gone, to projects that drain you, to beliefs that no longer inspire, is like anchoring yourself down. And the more you try to hold these things at the surface, the deeper your energy sinks. At the moment of portal activation, these anchors feel heavier than ever. They don't show up as dramatic events, but as a quiet sense that something inside is no longer moving. You're not tired. You're weighed down by what needs to be released. But the moment you are honest, not with others, but with yourself, everything changes. In that moment, honesty works like a code. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to be confident in every step. You only need the inner agreement. I can't keep pretending that what drains me is still enough. That is the door opening. Not through action, through clarity. The universe doesn't require effort. It simply waits for the moment when you admit you've outgrown your old role. And then it begins to respond with signs, with feelings, with sudden shifts, not loudly, but with perfect precision. Yet even one subtle internal compromise, like the thought, "Fine, let it be this way, as long as it doesn't get worse," can halt everything. On activation days, these quiet agreements do not go unnoticed. The portal doesn't hear your desires. It hears your readiness. It doesn't measure whether you want more. It measures whether you're able to hold it. And if your vibration says, "I'll settle for less," everything that was coming begins to pull back. Not forever, but until the next moment of choice. When once again, you'll stand at the threshold, remain in the familiar, or risk choosing what's real. This is not mysticism. This is energetic physics. Life doesn't respond to your dreams. It responds to what you accept as your norm. And if your norm still includes the absence of love, the lack of support, half-hearted relationships, or shaky stability, that is what the universe will continue to reinforce. Not because you deserve it, but because you agreed to it. The June 6th portal asks for no grand manifestations. It doesn't need you to take bold steps if you're not ready, but it responds instantly to the purity of your inner signal. When you truly release what no longer belongs to you, it begins to construct conditions for the new. These conditions may not feel comfortable at first. They may look like loss or like emptiness. But that emptiness is not failure. It is a cleared space for what's next. And here, everything begins to work differently. You stop chasing. You stop begging for signs. You enter a space where alignment becomes exact, where the right words arrive at the right time, where decisions that once seemed impossible arrange themselves into a clear path. This isn't magic. It's the consequence of an internal choice. The June 6th portal doesn't open through invitation. There is no list. There is only one condition. Are you ready to let go of what's already over? Everything else will follow. You don't need to know what comes next. But you must be honest about what no longer works now. And once that truth is acknowledged, the door opens. No key, no code, only this. You're no longer abandoning yourself. June 6th is not a day of action. It's a day of alignment. What matters now is not activity, but presence. Not outer drive, but inner clarity. This portal does not respond to loud footsteps or bold declarations. It activates the moment you stop running from yourself. There's no need to manifest desires, demand signs, or frantically search for the right thing to do to make it all come true. Everything that truly matters is already resonating within you. All that's left is to clear the noise, to let go of the excuses, the doubts, the old attachments that no longer fuel you. To pause, not to give up, but to truly hear. What among all this is actually yours? This is a day of silence, but not passive silence. It's the kind of stillness where your inner choice grows louder than any external decision. And what you choose today, not with words, but within, becomes the compass for what follows. This is the exact moment your new frequency begins to take shape, not because you wish for change, but because you're finally willing to release what's kept you in place. Today, it's not about saying, "I deserve more," but allowing yourself to feel it, not through fantasy, but through readiness. A deep sense that you no longer have to justify yourself, that you don't have to be agreeable, patient, endlessly restrained to earn what is meant for you. It's enough to simply be in integrity with yourself. Let yourself invest in something that truly matters, in yourself, in your body, in quiet, in those small grounding actions that bring you back to life. It might mean walking away from the familiar but empty, or choosing something new, uncertain perhaps, but honest. Everything you do from that space will be heard, because June 6th does not ask for explanations. It simply opens the doors behind which truth is waiting. And if, on this day, you stop waiting for signs from outside, if you remain in this inner coherence without trying to control or negotiate, you will pass through. No noise, no proof, just the quiet certainty that you are already aligned with the life you're ready to sustain. This day does not demand urgency. It doesn't push, and it doesn't call. It simply waits and watches. Not what you do, but who you become in your silence. There's no need to impress, no need to explain or ask. Everything is already in motion. And the only question this space quietly echoes is, are you in alignment with what you're asking for? Not in words, but in your state of being, in the choice you've already made, quietly, without drama, without applause, without needing to look back. This day doesn't respond to a desire for change. It responds to your willingness not to abandon yourself. And if you can stand in that truth, even if not everything is clear yet, the space around you begins to respond. Not quickly, not all at once, but with a precision so unmistakable that at some point you'll realize you've already crossed over to the place where you no longer need to silence your voice, hide your longing, or justify your worth. The portal doesn't punish. It doesn't reward. It simply reflects what is already sounding within you. And if that sound carries clarity, the gate opens. Because you finally allowed yourself to be real. And the universe will understand that.